Okay, wonderful. So, hi everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thanks for joining us. My name is Neha Kumar, and I'm SIGCHI President. This meeting is going to be moderated by Andrew Kuhn, who's VP for Finances today, because it's 2:30 a.m. where I am, so I'm not sure I should be doing this today. And I will quickly go over the code of conduct. So I'll share the link with you all and just go over it briefly. So where's the chat? Okay, so a lot of these things, you can take a look. A lot of these things are just typical of Zoom meetings, but I'll highlight some of these things that are particular to our meetings. So firstly, we do encourage adding your pronouns. Whenever you speak, we would ask that you raise your hand. And you can do that over Zoom, or you can raise your physical hand and we can see you in the video. With regards to content, this is a roundtable discussion, so we ask that you keep your comments concise. We encourage constructive criticism and critique, but do remember to be hard on systems and soft on people. In other words, avoid personal attacks and have us collectively find ways to address any systemic issues that come up. And with regards to this space, we would like this to be a supportive space. So be patient, show sensitivity to anyone speaking, be kind and be supportive. People's lived experiences are not for debate, their ideas, policies, and suggestions are. So please keep that in mind. And in the event of harassment or discrimination by another attendee or presenter, please message the moderator, and that is Andrew. You can also message me, and we will take appropriate action. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So Andrew, over to you.
Thank you, Neha. Hello, everyone. Andrew Kuhn, as Neha introduced me, Vice President for Finance. And the first thing we would like to discuss today is going to be led by Susanna Bull. Susanna, you're going to talk about how to become a SIGCHI sponsored conference. Is that correct?
Yes. And then someone should be, yeah, here we go. So it's just a quick update on our wonderful set of conferences and maybe how this is growing. So I'm the new Vice President of Conferences, already now half a year in work, but at least maybe for you, it's still a new position. And on the next slide, we are seeing the current state. So of course you would know SIGCHI as our flagship conferences, and I took some time to look back into history. So it has been sponsored since 1983. It was born, as it was called, as the Conference of Human Factors and Computing Systems in 1982, and then it was since 1983, it was then since 1985 held annually. So it's nice to look back. And then over the years, we could see there's a lot of CHI-related, HCI-related conferences, and we had more and more of those being sponsored or co-sponsored. And you find here now 23, and it's just an abbreviation, a multitude of very interesting facets of human-computer interaction, which each have established their own, let's say, subfield, special area within human-computer interaction. So now the question becomes, are we getting more? So we are getting requests, and so I want to share with everyone how to become a SIGCHI sponsored conference on the next slide. Just give you a quick overview. So we have, first of all, the interest expression. If you're interested, talk to us. You know, we have been approached using, for example, addressing the EC chair. Of course, always contact me, share your interests, and we can exchange. Typically we would chat, but at least we do this by email in digital ways, how you would complement existing SIGCHI sponsored conferences. And we have then a formal process, which would mean you're submitting a short document that helps us understand where your conference stands how it would complement the SIGCHI conference family, how it is organized, what the history was, what the kind of attendees are, like the numbers, and maybe also the way how you interact, what is your individual conference tradition. Just share with us, and also let us know about the financial aspects of your conference. It should be and must express the commitment that the conference will follow SIGCHI policies, and also a committee on equity, accessibility, sort of show how you've addressed these aspects in previous years. This can be a process of a few weeks. It depends also on how you are connecting this with your steering committee and steering committee members and your community. And then finally, this conference would be presented in front of the executive committee, and then it would be a formal vote of the EC that this conference is going to be SIGCHI sponsored, SIGCHI co-sponsored, and then we would initiate the formalities. So if you have any questions about that process, just reach out to me. If you are interested, just feel free to express this interest, and we will look how we can discuss and consider that your conference is becoming in a future SIGCHI sponsored conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Susanna. That was very clear. I did want to quickly mention that if people have questions, you can always type them into the chat. And at the very end of the meeting, we will also have a bit of time for open questions too. The next brief presentation will be by me because we are discussing our next fiscal year's budget. And I don't know if Christy will be sharing the slides or if I'm supposed to share them.
I can share them.
Thank you. So the process of creating the SIGCHI budget is something that we will get started now as an executive committee. And the first thing I wanted to say on the next slide is that this is a collaborative process between us and the ACM. ACM provides a template, which means a spreadsheet with a bunch of numbers, including things like their projections of what conferences will do, and also what they expect our opening balance to be. And then the executive committee members collaboratively decide on items and amounts that should be included for the next fiscal year, which is fiscal year 23, which starts July 1st, 2022. And then there will be an EC vote, which then initiates the process with ACM, where they also approve and then implement things. So if we look at the next slide, our timeline is that right now we should organize ourselves into collaborative teams and start working on what exactly we would like to see in the next budget. Around the first week of February, we can expect to see ACM provide us a budget template. This is approximate. And then I will be able to update this budget template to create a budget document for all of us to take a look at and start plugging in our numbers for next fiscal year. And then by the end of February, we have to wrap up our work and vote and send things over to ACM. So basically our work on the budget needs to end by the end of February. And by the way, this is tied to also ACM processes. They also have a set of steps that need to be taken so that everything is ready for July 1st. Okay, so on the next slide, what I was hoping everybody can focus on right now is sort of the big picture first. What is it that you all think we should be able to accomplish in the next fiscal year? So what are these areas that we collectively need to address? And then each individual on the executive committee, what is it that you maybe feel like you got elected to do, or wish to, that you were brought on, or what is it that you wish to do? And then we need to think about which budget items would help us do that. And then also, how much is needed to do this? So I would encourage you to think about, these three things first. So what is it that we should get done? and what exactly are the budget items, and we'll look at that together later, but then how much is it? So, things obviously are not free. So don't worry about what was spent in the past. Just think about what is it that you think would get the job done. And then additionally, as a group, we need to think about how much is it that each logical group of things should have, right? So supporting conferences might be one logical thing that different people might address. But together, there's probably a big chunk of money that we think should go there. And supporting the community, we've always supported the community as perhaps the largest spending of the SIGCHI Executive Committee. So this is something that we should also keep in mind. So if we go to the next slide, right now, what we should start with is our cluster meetings. So the clusters that we've been forming, right, need to discuss what they would like to do. There should be topic discussions. So for example, SIGCHI turns 40 or membership. I will have office hours. So basically, I would like to meet with everyone. I can show you what the fiscal year 22 budget looks like. We can look at actual spending up to date that we've incurred so that you have some sort of information about what's been happening, and then have open discussion of what should be done next. And then finally, we have this EC budget meeting. And so the next slide, I think what I would like to do is skip basically the next several slides. And you should probably, we need to look at these individually, but this is basically how to look at the budget. So I think we can skip this one and the next few. But right now, those are the things that I hope everybody can start focusing on. So let's get organized and discuss how to move forward as clusters, as individuals, and then I'm happy to talk to everyone.
And maybe I can add, Andrew, that you did do a presentation on the budget also was it in the September meeting that we had? So if anyone is interested to kind of look at the overview of the budget, then they can look that up because that's on our website right now.
Yes, thank you, Neha. And the budget it's a big document, but I'm going to go through each of these things with individuals and groups. So we can certainly tackle that. Okay. So at this point, I would like to move forward, and Josh will give us an awards update. Josh, is that?
Yes, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Josh Andres. I'm the new adjunct chair for awards, and I have 3 updates for you. So first of all, to give you some context, over the last 3 months, the EC has been working on getting feedback from the community about awards. We work with previous EC members. We work with the community through a survey, and we also collaborated with different members. So what I want to share with you are 3 updates that we are taking as actions resulting from these different engagements. And I'm going to post this link here. Let me just get it for you. And this link has all the updates for you to read in more detail. The first update is that we are going to use the open call approach to recruit for members and for chairs. And we have just successfully run this process, and we are working through the applications to look at the candidates that we're going to use to fill those positions, ensuring that we fulfill the rigorous process.
And this is for the awards committee, right? I think.
That's right. That's for the awards of committees. The second update I have here is that we also reviewed the criteria for those roles. And as you see on the document, there is a section called criteria. So we look at the recognition, the experience, the commitment to values, the willingness, and then we broke that down more finely into different subcommittees so that people can precisely see what those roles require to serve and to to conduct them successfully. The third update that I have is that nomination for awards are still open. We are seeing all the applications coming through, and I invite you to look at this link, which tells you about what you need to do to apply to any of the awards, and also to this other link, which is actually the application to the awards. And as a final link I have for you is an ACM link that tells you how to choose endorsers, which is actually something really critical for your nominations. I also just wanted to briefly, I skipped through the start, I went too fast, but what I wanted to tell you as well is that all these decisions came from various efforts. So from 2 open sessions that we held earlier this year, we also had a survey. We collaborated with ACM leaders, with members, with awardees, and we are really excited to share this with you. We are looking for further feedback, engagement, but the important thing for now is to get your nominations for awards coming in. So make sure you support your colleagues and nominate yourself. With that, that's all the update that I have. If there are any questions, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Neha, I believe you will take over and discuss brainstorming mentorship initiatives now.
Yeah. Christy, if you could share the slides, please. And while Christy's, so we have the slides up. There's just a few slides. This is to get us started on discussing mentorship and leadership opportunities for members of our community. So mentorship is something that we've been talking about, thinking about for a long time. We haven't really kind of drilled down on initiatives that will be running for this. In the previous EC, we had a good amount of review of how we've been approaching various volunteer roles. And so some of that was also around mentorship and the need for mentorship. And this is something that we've been actively brainstorming about. And so we just wanted to share some of the brainstorming ideas that we've been playing around with, and to also mention that we'll be doing an open session, which will be kind of a dedicated hour session on potential initiatives that we could be running, and that will be to get more people involved, hopefully, and more ideas as well. So for today, the things that we've been discussing, I'll just quickly go over. So the next slide, please. Yeah, so firstly, who are we attempting to target with these mentorship and leadership opportunities? So we talked about supporting students, and students at different stages. So they could be PhD students just starting out, or and needing help with reviewer training, or students who are close to graduation, so might need help with their doctoral work, for instance, or even career opportunities for the future. Then looking at early careers, so we wanted to ensure that we're also looking actively at researchers and practitioners and thinking about ways to build partnerships through some of these mentorship initiatives. Also looking at authors and reviewers and looking at various needs, right? So that's the second bullet. So for what are we thinking of providing mentorship? And this includes facilitating mentorship on doing and reviewing research. And those two are also just really broad and could cover a bunch of things. Connecting to peers and near peers, and then supporting conferences in the programs that they offer to the community, and providing leadership opportunities in different capacities. So those are the types of goals that we've been discussing. And then with regards to how, well, through virtual initiatives in a big way, because that's something that has been we've been actively doing a lot of virtual events, and also forming committees and working groups of the executive committee with your participation. So this is to invite you all to play a role as we move forward on these. So next slide, please. So just to give you some examples of things that we have been brainstorming. So for instance, there is an early career workshop that takes place every 2 years, and through the Computing Research Association, and this is in the US. But this is if you go to this link, this is a good example of a mentoring workshop that could potentially benefit early career professionals that we might consider. So that's one group of people, and then looking at many reviewing courses that we could put on the SIGCHI YouTube channel, which would be for supporting people who have just started to review or who have questions about reviewing, and to address different epistemologies, different research styles. Then programs for one-on-one mentoring relationships, and some of these have existed. I know Michael Mueller is not here, but he's been also contributing to these ideas, and that is one of the things that he had mentioned, because with, for instance, CSCW, they've been doing this for a while, of supporting first-time reviewers by providing mentoring relationships to them with more senior researchers. Then considering the idea of doctoral consortia, so doing these sort of mini events 2-3 times a year to provide avenues for graduating students to discuss their research with others in the community. And this could happen for students across conferences. And then finally, another idea that we're talking about is a student-led sandbox. So basically a way to bring students, potentially early careers, together to brainstorm and implement programs for, say, 3 to 6 months in a year. And that might be a way to introduce them to networking opportunities, introduce them to leadership opportunities, and actually give them the resources to come up with programs that they might prefer for others who are their peers or their near peers. So these are some examples that we're thinking about, but it would be great if you have any thoughts or input that you want to share now, and also to just know that, as I mentioned, we'll be doing an open session to walk through these in a little more detail. And so you can look out for an email about that. So that's all I have. And this is in, yes, you can email us at SIGCHI-forall@acm.org to let us know if you have any particular ideas or feedback on mentorship and leadership opportunities within SIGCHI. And I think that's it for now. So please add any questions that you have to the chat. And we were also thinking that we would create channels on Discord for continued discussion. I just saw the comment from Patrick about shadow PCs. Yes, that's something that's come up actually in several of our open sessions. So we will be looking at that more deeply. Okay. So I think, Andrew, the next item is also me. So should I go ahead?
Please.
Okay, do you want to address any of the questions now, or should we just wait until I'm done with the updates?
Let's wait.
Okay. Okay, so in terms of miscellaneous updates, these are just quick updates that I wanted to share. The first one is that we've been actively looking at membership. So Naomi, who's here, VP at large, she's in charge of this. And we will be doing a much longer conversation about membership in an open session soon. But this is something we want to hear from also, or hear about also from our members in terms of what types of benefits we could be offering in addition to what currently exists. And so we'll come back to you about that. Second, we did an open session before the holiday on the ACM violations database, and we collected questions. We will be also writing something up soon once we have some answers to those questions from the ACM CEO, Vicky Hansen, and that might shed some light on what exactly the ACM violations database is about, how it's being implemented, at least as of now. Third, we've been working on our website. So if you want, you can take a look at SIGCHI.org, and the homepage is a little bit different. But this is also to mention that since we are kind of in the thick of it, if you have suggestions for information that you've been looking for that you think it would be useful to include, then we're absolutely happy to take suggestions. And finally, I wanted to just share the links for our so SIGCHI members who are ACM fellows and distinguished members. You might have seen these lists shared of the newly selected ACM fellows. I think this was just shared in January. And we wanted to just recognize that there are SIGCHI members. I'm not going to list them all here, but you can take a look for yourself. So this is a list of fellows, and this is the list of distinguished members. And that's really all we had for the quick updates. So we can open it up to questions now.
Thank you, Neha. Yes, so we have about 15 minutes. So there were a couple of, actually one question and one comment by Patrick, if you would like to go ahead. And for everybody else, please either raise your hand or type away. Patrick.
Yeah, Andrew, sorry, the first one was just about the budget. Sorry, just going back to that. I don't know much about SIGCHI budget, ACM budgets, just conferences. I guess when I was thinking of strategy, I was just thinking about, obviously there's a desire to sort of fund more initiatives, which is gonna sort of, I don't know, actually maybe SIGCHI has a massive budget or whatever, or there's obviously you need a strategy for sort of revenue as well then, don't you? You know, and you know, one field fosters the other. So I guess I'm thinking, when I mean strategy, it's like, you might want to get this stuff going regardless because SIGCHI has the funds or ACM will allow it, but with a view to sort of sustainability as you go through growing membership and things like that. I guess that's the sort of strategy thing I was wondering about. And I don't know if you've sort of given it much thought, or it's first things, just thinking about what do we want to do first. So it's at that level. I don't really have any feel for the numbers at all, actually. So how is SIGCHI financially? I'm just wondering. I haven't looked at the budget, so
you know, SIGCHI finances are good, and that's thanks to the conferences that have been, you know, very careful and in fact very, you know, the entire membership, right? And so I have to look exactly what the number is, but roughly our starting number was 5.5 million when we started in July 1st. So the fiscal year starts July 1st. And this year, to the best of my ability to tell, based on my, you know, looking at the system, the ACM's financial system, we've added to that. We've added to that probably on the order of $400,000 or $500,000. So we're in good shape to be able to do things that we want to do. So you're right. We do want to make sure that there is this fiscal, you know, health. And we're going to keep talking about that, right? Ultimately, to your point, it's a single number, right?
Yeah.
We have conferences, we have initiatives, but ultimately it's one, right? So it's up to all of us to make sure that that one number stays healthy. And so we're going to continue doing that. But I think at the same time, we also have the ability to do good things and support the community.
It feels like a significant amount. I mean, if you can get through 2 years of pandemic and still be doing well.
Yes, and you know, there's some sort of a, you know, there's a one thing that ACM tells you is there's a minimum. So it's not like you're not really supposed to spend down 5 million the next year, right? And of course, there's always, you know, people go to conferences, they pay fees. Conferences have been very, very good at lining up external support as well. Conferences have been very good at making sure that their budgets, you know, at the very least are you know, zero sum, right? They don't plan on losing money ever, and then most of the time they make money. So that ultimately helps the community. And then Patrick, you had another comment. I don't know if you wanted to discuss that.
The other one was just about the mentoring, really, for Neha. I was just thinking, often these things are quite top down, and that's not a bad thing because people working at the top are actually putting the effort in thinking about things. But I'm just wondering about models for sort of it being more regionally distributed, because often with mentoring, there is a thing around time zones. And time zones, it doesn't sort of divide up in sort of economic regions, because of course Africa and Europe are in the same time zone. So I was just thinking to get things at scale, you do think it's almost like you want something a bit more distributed in the coordination. Obviously the centre coming up with ideas and resources, but is there, I don't know if you thought about these sort of regional, a bit more regional or time zone regional models, because I've not seen it so much in SIGCHI before, and of course it depends on people willing to step up and do it.
No, thank you for pointing that out. I think that we need regular reminders when it comes to just working across regions, because I think it can be really easy to nod, but with regards to regions, so I would say, I think Andrew alluded to this, we do have our priorities sort of clustered into a few different areas, and one of them is the local and global. And so we have folks here. One, we're looking at community support. Under that, we're looking at regional committees, which includes the Latin America Committee. We're also forming a new committee, which is the Mediterranean CHI committee for Southern Europe. And then there are folks who are also interested in looking at Eastern Europe. And then Naomi is currently working to, she did an open call for the Asia committee, and so that's being put together. And we're also thinking with the Asia focus to actually go a little bit more granular this time, so have a focus in South Asia, East Asia, Southeast Asia, so look at these regions separately. At the same time, Matt unfortunately could not be here because he's unwell, but he's also looking at chapters and how we combine chapters with the focus on these regional committees. So really kind of starting from the chapters and then building up through the regional committees and then moving on to the top. So I would say we are trying to take a bottom-up and top-down approach at the same time. Top-down when we think about initiatives where we want to support our community, and then bottom-up when it comes to looking across regions. With time zones, yes, it's always tricky, and we're always trying to do better. We have tried to change the time of the website to UTC. We've been trying to use UTC everywhere, and that's probably confusing for some people, but we're trying.
I guess I was thinking the distinction between sort of time zones when you're thinking about mentoring, because you're often interested in developing people's social capitals. Latin America, lots in common language and whatever, but actually connecting North and South America and Canada, is sort of a valuable thing in a mentoring. And the same with sort of Africa and Europe. They're very conveniently, very conveniently situated. So that the last point now I was just going to make on the thing is with that shadow PC, when we did it with Compass, I think Compass had less than 200 attendees, but we had 80 people sign up for the shadow PC. All came along to all the activities, reviewed the papers much more thoroughly and much more timely than the rest of the committee. So I didn't realize, we just did it as an experiment. Kurt Heimel had mentioned how they've done it in something else, but it's a really easy thing to do, actually, and really easy to bolt onto a conference, I think, so I'd just recommend it.
No, thank you for saying that. And I don't know if you know Melissa Densmore, but she's actually been in a couple of sessions last year where she has brought this up. So we have been hearing about the shadow PC at Compass for a bit. So it's certainly one of the ideas that we want to include in the types of initiatives we consider. So thank you for that. Any other questions? Anybody? Stacy says, what about a shadow OC?
This is Stacy. I'll just add that I think I recommend for accessibility chairs for conferences so that there's always 2, maybe even 3, so that you're always bringing someone up behind you to train them up for the next year. I know that that can be a luxury in a volunteer-oriented world, but if we're going to have a shadow PC, I could also see value in a shadow OC, organizing committee.
I guess that's an idea for Susanna to add to her list of things that she might want to mention to conferences. But yes, noted.
So a shadow OC would be shadowing. Is that what would be shadowing the committee? Is that the idea? Okay, I get you. So a PC is more like you form the committee and review the papers and do a mock review, whereas an OC is more like a shadowing as an experience, like a job shadowing thing. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah, this one is a bit of a shorter meeting, not the full hour, because we figured we could try to compress and be done a little bit earlier. But again, obviously, you can email us whenever you want about anything and about any of the topics that came up, and also just keep an eye out for the awards. If you have any nominations that come to mind, we did try to make the process a little bit simpler in terms of just putting in nominations. So if you haven't looked at it, you could take a look at the nomination form. It might not be too much time for you to fill that out. And other than that, we're just going to be doing some open sessions on things like membership and such. So keep an eye out. Maybe I should also mention that we'll be recruiting for various committees, because a lot of the members of the EC have put together a plan for drawing participation from the community for things like the Sustainability Committee, looking at the regional committees that I mentioned, community support mechanisms, looking at more participation from students and early careers. So for those, we will be putting out calls, and everything is going to be on the submittable page. So all of our calls from now on will be on submittable. One reason for that is that it is GDPR compliant. 2, that it can be accessed anywhere, and it's also easier to edit for people when they put in their applications. So that's just something to keep in mind. We've also linked to it from our homepage, but that would be where we put calls for participation. Also for SIGCHI Turns 40, where Susan is going to be leading that, and so there will be a call there as well for you all to participate. And yes, thank you, Helena. It is also accessible. So those were the 3 criteria that we've been looking at to add platforms to our list. So I think that's it. If there aren't any more questions, then we'll see you next month. And then we'll have a much clearer picture of where the money is actually being budgeted, because this was sort of to mention that we're planning to allocate funds to various things. Okay, so thank